Why James and I chose the speech by Eamon de Valera was because it coincides with the debate whether Irish should be taught in schools or not, and how it is such a major part of our culture, and how Eamon de Valera saw it at his time while he was president of the country. Acutely conscious that we are all of the misery and desolation in which the greater part of the world is plunged, let us turn aside for a moment to that ideal Ireland that we would have. That Ireland which we dreamed of would be the home of a people who valued material wealth only as the basis of a right living, of a people who were satisfied with frugal comfort and devoted their leisure to the things of the spirit, a land whose countryside would be bright with cosy homesteads, whose fields and villages would be joyous with the sounds of industry, with the romping of sturdy children, the contests of athletic youths, and the laughter of comely maidens, whose firesides would be formed for the wisdom of serene old age. It would, in a word, be the home of a people living the life that God desires that man should live. With the tidings that make such an Ireland possible, St. Patrick himself came to our ancestors 1500 years ago, promising happiness here as well as happiness hereafter. It was the pursuit of such an Ireland that later made our country worthy to be called the island of saints and scholars. It was the idea of such an Ireland, happy, vigorous, spiritual, that fired the imagination of our poets, that made successive generations of patriotic men give their lives to win religious and political liberty, and that will urge men in our own and future generations to die, if need be, so that these liberties may be preserved. 100 years ago, the young Irelanders, by holding up the vision of such an Ireland before the people, inspired our nation and moved it spiritually as it had hardly been moved since the golden age of Irish civilization. 50 years after the young Irelanders, the founders of the Gaelic League similarly inspired and moved the people of their day, as did later the leaders of the Volunteers. We of this time, if we have the will and active enthusiasm, may have the opportunity to inspire and move our generation in a like manner. We can do so by keeping the thought of a noble future for our country constantly before our minds, ever seeking an action to bring that future into being, and ever remembering that it is our nation as a whole that future must employ. For many, the pursuit of a material is a necessity. Man, to express himself fully and to make the best use of his talents God has given him, needs a certain minimum of comfort and leisure. A section of our people have not yet this minimum. They rightly strive to secure it, and it must be our aim, and the aim of all who are just and wise, to assist in the effort. But many have got more than is required, and are free, if they choose, to devote themselves more completely to cultivating the things of the mind, and in particular those who mark us out as a distinct nation. The first of these latter is a national language. It is for us what no other language can be. It is our very own. It is more than a symbol, it is an essential part of our nationhood. It has been moulded by the thought of 100 generations of our forebears. In it is stored the accumulated experience of a people, our people, who even before Christianity was brought to them, already cultured and living in a well-ordered society. The Irish language spoken in Ireland today is the direct descendant without break of the language our ancestors spoke in those far-off days. As a vehicle of 3,000 years of our history, the language is for us precious beyond measure. As the bearer to us of a philosophy, of an outlook on life deeply Christian and rich in practical wisdom, the language today is worth far too much to dream of letting it go. To part with it would be to abandon a great part of ourselves, to lose the key of our past, to cut away the roots from the tree. With the language gone, we could never aspire again to being more than half a nation. For my part, I believe that this outstanding mark of our nationhood can be preserved and made forever safe by this generation. I am indeed certain of it, but I know that it cannot be saved without understanding and cooperation and effort and sacrifice. It would be wrong to minimise the difficulties. They are not slight. The task of restoring the language as an everyday speech of our people is a task as great as any nation ever undertook. But it is a noble task. Other nations have succeeded in it, though in their case, when the effort was begun, their national language was probably more widely spoken among their people than ours is with us. As long as the language lives, however, on the lips of the people as their natural speech in any substantial part of this land, we are assured of success if we are in earnest. Ball ye oraibh agus ball go cur sé ar an obair atá roing. Go cuftaí dhí sin agus gur fiú sin cuithe, mar náisiún na tileachí a thug Pádraig thugan. Go tugadh an nia a thug slán sin go dtí siún ón Annachán is ón míá atá ar oiread sin náisiún eile, de bharr ar chuigead seo. Scá agus dígin dúin go dtí an deara, agus go ndeoidh sé gur fiú sin chuig úsáil a dhéanamh sa saol nua atá roing.